The mountains were still that morning, except for the faint whine of the wind cutting through the gorge. I had been hiking alone for hours, my backpack heavier than usual, my boots crunching over gravel and dry leaves. When I reached the ridge, I stopped to catch my breath and noticed a narrow wooden bridge swaying between two cliffs. It looked old, too old, the ropes frayed, the planks uneven and pale from sun and rain. Then I heard it, a deep, low groan that didn't sound human. I froze. My eyes followed the sound toward the bridge, and my stomach dropped. There, right in the middle of that rotten span, lay a huge brown bear. She wasn't standing. She was sprawled on the boards, her front paws clawing at the edge as if she was trying not to fall. One plank had already snapped beneath her weight. The gap revealed nothing but air and the long fall into the valley below. I took a slow step forward, instinctively reaching for my phone. The bear lifted her head slightly, and for a moment our eyes met. There was no aggression in her stare, just confusion and exhaustion. She was trapped. The wind rocked the bridge, and I saw the ropes creak and twist. Another board cracked. I stepped back, heart pounding. My legs shook. Heights have always been a problem for me, ever since that accident 5 years ago when a climbing rope snapped under me. The sight of that drop made my throat dry. I wanted to turn away, to pretend I hadn't seen any of this. But I couldn't. I couldn't leave her there. I dialed Cole, the local ranger. He picked up after the second ring. "Cole, there's a bear stuck on the old bridge above Dry Creek Pass. It looks like she's about to fall. The wood's breaking under her." "You sure?" he asked, his voice sharp. "That bridge should have been closed last season. I'm looking at her right now. She's alive, but not moving much. I think she's injured. Stay back, Dylan. Don't spook her. I'll grab the team and head up there now." The call ended, but I didn't move. I watched the bear breathe, her sides rising and falling, the boards beneath her flexing dangerously. Behind me, voices echoed. A couple of hikers appeared on the trail, chatting loudly until they saw what I was staring at. One of them cursed. "Is that a bear? We should throw rocks or shout to scare it off before it blocks the trail." "No," I barked. "Don't you dare. The bridge can't take another movement. One wrong noise, and she'll go down." They hesitated, stepping closer anyway, their phones already out for pictures. I moved between them and the bridge, raising a hand. "Get back. Now. I've called the ranger. Just stay quiet." The wind gusted again, stronger this time, and a loose rope snapped free, whipping against the cliff. The bear jerked her head up in panic, claws scraping the wood. I felt my own pulse in my ears. I couldn't breathe. Minutes crawled by. Every creak of that bridge felt like a countdown. I kept my eyes on her, hoping Cole's truck would appear on the distant road below. Instead, I heard a sharp crack, the sound of wood giving up. The bear's front paw slipped through the gap, and the entire span shuddered under her weight. My body moved before my brain caught up. I dropped my backpack, stepped toward the first support post, and shouted, trying to keep her calm even though she couldn't understand me. "Easy, just stay still. Please don't move." The bear let out a weak grunt, her breathing ragged. A section of the bridge caved inward with a dry snap. For a heartbeat, she dangled above the abyss, claws gripping what little wood remained. "Cole, you better hurry," I muttered to myself, watching splinters fall into the fog below. Because she doesn't have much time, and neither do I. By the time Cole arrived, the sun had already shifted behind the ridge, and the wind coming through the gorge had turned colder. His pickup screeched to a halt near the trailhead, and 3 rangers jumped out, carrying ropes and safety gear. I waved from the edge of the path, my voice cracking from the hours of tension. "She's still there," I shouted. "She hasn't moved an inch." Cole squinted through his binoculars at the trembling bridge. The bear's fur rippled with every gust, and the planks beneath her looked worse than before. "Damn," he muttered. "That thing should have collapsed days ago. If we step on it, it'll take us both down." One of the younger rangers spoke up. "Maybe we should end it now. A clean shot, quick, painless. No point risking anyone's life." I spun toward him. "Are you serious? She's not attacking anyone. She's trapped." Cole held up his hand. "Calm down, Dylan. We're not pulling triggers yet." The team backed away from the edge, whispering among themselves. I could hear every word. The cost of rescue equipment, the danger of the wind, the bad press if someone fell. My stomach twisted. Then, from far below, a faint sound carried up through the fog. Soft, uneven cries, almost like whimpers. Cole froze. "Did you hear that?" I nodded. The sound came again, clearer this time. It wasn't human. We followed the echo down a narrow slope, using the ropes for balance as we descended toward the valley floor. The smell of pine and damp leaves filled the air, mixed with something sour, rotting garbage. Near the remains of an old campsite, we found two small shapes huddled beside an overturned trash bin. They were bear cubs, thin and trembling, their fur matted with dirt. One of them lifted its head weakly when we approached, letting out a faint cry before collapsing back against its sibling. "Oh hell," Cole whispered. "That's her family." I crouched down, keeping my distance but lowering my voice. "Hey little ones, it's okay. We're not here to hurt you." The younger ranger who had suggested shooting their mother looked pale. "If the mom's up there, and they're down here, they've been separated for days." Cole knelt beside me. They wouldn't have wandered this far without her. She must have been looking for food near the bridge. He shook his head. "She went the wrong way and got stuck." The cubs whimpered again, too weak to stand. One tried to lick at a piece of plastic near its paw. I took out my water bottle, poured a little into the cap, and slid it closer. The smaller cub sniffed, then began to drink with tiny laps. The other followed. Their hunger and thirst hit me like a punch to the chest. Cole straightened. "We'll have to take them down to the old ranger post. There's a transport crate there. They won't survive the night like this." We used one of the emergency blankets to wrap them carefully, keeping them together. Their bodies were warm, hearts fluttering fast beneath the fur. As we climbed back toward the trucks, a few locals had gathered near the trail, drawn by the commotion. Someone shouted, "Why are you saving those pests? They'll just come back for our trash." Another voice added, "Shoot the mother before she attacks someone." Cole ignored them, but I couldn't. I turned, raising my voice over the noise. "She's not a pest. She's a mother trying to survive the same storm we all live under." The crowd fell quiet, uneasy. I walked past them, clutching the blanket closer to my chest. When we reached the ranger truck, Cole opened a large box lined with towels. We laid the cubs inside, their tiny paws twitching as they settled down. The smaller one let out a soft, tired sound that almost broke me. Cole placed a hand on my shoulder. "We'll keep them stable. But you know what this means, right? If she falls, they won't make it either." I looked down at them, both breathing shallowly under the thin blanket. "Then we don't let her fall," I said quietly. "I'll get her back to them. I swear." The cubs stirred faintly, as if they heard me. Somewhere above the valley, the wind carried a faint, distant roar, a sound like a mother calling for her lost children. By midday, the valley had grown silent again, but tension hung over the team like a storm cloud. The bear was still on the bridge, breathing shallowly, her paws trembling with each creak of the boards. Cole stood near the edge, scanning the ropes, calculating risks. The rest of the rangers waited behind him, avoiding eye contact. Everyone knew one mistake could end two lives. A white truck stopped near the trailhead. A woman stepped out, her hair tied back, wearing a weathered ranger vest. She carried a tranquilizer case and moved with calm precision. "That's Dr. Megan Shaw," Cole said quietly. "Best wildlife vet in the county." Megan knelt beside the bridge's anchor post, glancing at the bear through binoculars. "Heart rate's probably high from stress," she murmured. "If we don't move soon, she'll collapse." "How far's the drop?" 80 meters, Cole replied. "Straight down." She exhaled through her nose. "Then we'd better not miss." The team began setting up a harness system, ropes anchored to nearby rocks, a pulley for the rescue line. The sound of metal clips echoed off the canyon walls. I watched them work, palms sweating inside my gloves. My fear of heights had never been this sharp. Even looking at the bridge made my stomach twist. Cole turned to the group. "We need someone light enough to move out there without snapping more boards. I'll handle the line from here, but someone's got to get close enough for Megan to deliver the dart." Silence. The men looked at each other, then down at their boots. One coughed. Another shook his head. I felt something stir inside me, a mix of dread and responsibility. My mind flashed back to the cubs, their weak cries muffled by the blanket in the crate. I heard myself say, "I'll do it." Cole looked at me, surprised. "You sure about that?" "No," I said, "but I'm the only one who saw how she's positioned. I know which boards are already cracked." Megan met my eyes. "We'll guide you by radio. Don't rush. If anything shifts, stop immediately." She loaded the tranquilizer dart, and handed me a small case. Keep the tip covered until I say go. They helped me into a harness. The ropes pressed against my ribs, every knot and buckle tightening like a reminder of what could go wrong. The moment I set foot on the first plank, it groaned under my weight. I forced myself to breathe evenly. One step at a time, Megan's voice came through the earpiece. Good. Now 2 planks forward. Avoid the right side. It split. The wind hit me in short bursts. Below, the valley blurred in haze. My boots slipped on the smooth, sun-bleached wood. The bear raised her head weakly, nostrils flaring. She could smell me. Her low rumble vibrated through the structure. It's okay, girl, I whispered. We're trying to help you. Almost there. Megan's calm tone guided me. 3 more feet. When I say now, remove the cap and push the dart into her shoulder muscle. Don't jab too deep. I crouched, the boards creaking under both of us. The smell of old rope, wood, and fur filled the air. Sweat dripped into my eyes. Megan's voice broke through again. Now. I pulled the cap, leaned closer, and pressed the dart into her shoulder. The bear flinched but didn't roar. She blinked slowly, her body starting to relax. Relief surged through me, until I heard the sound I dreaded most, a loud, sharp crack. The plank beneath her right side snapped, followed by another near her hind legs. The bridge lurched violently. I grabbed for the rope line, my knees slamming into the boards as a section of the deck tore away. Dylan, hold on, Cole shouted. The bear slid sideways, her claws scraping wood as the tranquilizer took effect. She slumped toward the new gap. My own harness went taut, jerking me back as part of the bridge dropped into the void below. For a heartbeat, we both hung suspended, me swaying from the line, her body half over the edge. Megan, she's slipping. I yelled. I see it. Came her voice, steady but urgent. Don't move. The sedative's working. Just hang on. The ropes creaked. Splinters rained down into the canyon. My arms burned from gripping the line. The last thing I saw before everything blurred was her paw sliding off the board, caught only by a tangle of broken rope. The wind howled through the gap as I swung helplessly over the abyss, praying the harness would hold, and that she wouldn't fall before we could save her. The next hour blurred into chaos. Every sound from the bridge was a threat, the groan of the ropes, the hiss of the wind, the scrape of wood pulling apart. I clung to the safety line, my arms screaming with pain as I dangled over the drop. Below me, broken planks spun into the fog and vanished. The bear's limp body teetered on what was left of the bridge deck, half her weight already hanging over the abyss. Pull him in. Now, Cole's voice thundered through the radios. 2 rangers cranked the winch while Megan crawled closer to the edge, shouting instructions. Easy. Don't jerk the line. He's twisted in the harness. The rope burned against my palms as the pulley squealed. I gasped for breath, trying not to look down. The air stank of splintered wood and fear. Inch by inch, the harness lifted me back toward the ledge. I could see Cole bracing his boots against a rock, his jaw locked tight. Almost there, Megan called. Don't move, Dylan. A violent gust hit, and the bridge lurched again. One of the main ropes snapped with a whip crack, sending part of the structure tumbling into the canyon. The sudden jerk nearly tore the harness from my chest. Megan cursed, clutching the anchor line. For a moment, everything hung in terrible balance. The bridge, the bear, and me. Then the winch screamed, and the tension eased. Hands grabbed me, hauling me onto solid ground. I rolled onto my back, panting, the sky spinning overhead. Get the bear, Megan shouted. She's sliding. Cole reacted instantly. The remaining rope line was still looped around her torso where I'd clipped it earlier. The team secured it to a second anchor, and 3 men pulled together, straining against her massive weight. The tranquilizer had taken full effect. She was completely still, her head resting against a broken beam. Slowly, painfully, they dragged her back inch by inch until her body was finally safe on the cliff's edge. For a few seconds, nobody spoke. Only the sound of the wind filled the air. Megan knelt beside the bear, checking her pulse and breathing. She's stable, she said softly. Sedated, but stable. Cole looked over the bridge, now nothing more than dangling ropes and shattered boards. We're closing this trail for good, he muttered. It's a miracle it didn't take you both. By sunset, we had the bear loaded into the back of a transport truck. The drive down to the valley was slow and silent. My arms ached, my hands raw from rope burns. I sat beside Megan, watching the bear's chest rise and fall under the tarp. At the small wildlife rehabilitation center, the cubs were waiting. They'd been given fluids and soft food, but their energy was still low. When the truck doors opened, both cubs lifted their heads and whimpered faintly. The sound made my throat tighten. Megan oversaw the unloading while Cole spoke with two uniformed officials from the Regional Park Service. I could tell from their folded arms and tense faces that it wasn't good news. "This bridge rescue has caused too much noise," one said sharply. "The public's nervous. We can't have predators this close to the tourist trails." Megan straightened, her expression hardening. She didn't attack anyone. She got trapped because the area's been left unmaintained for years. "That's not the point," the man snapped. "Relocation's risky, and we don't have the budget for long-term care. If she can't be released, we'll have to consider other options." "Other options?" I repeated, stepping forward. "You mean putting her down?" "After everything." Cole laid a hand on my shoulder, but I shook it off. "You saw those cubs. You can't take their mother away from them again." Megan's voice was firm. "Give us 1 week. We'll monitor her recovery, then release the family deeper in the reserve. Away from trails, away from people." The officials exchanged glances, then reluctantly nodded. 1 week. After that, it's out of our hands. As night fell, the center grew quiet. I walked past the holding enclosures, the hum of generators breaking the silence. Through the chain-link fence, I saw her, the bear lying on her side, breathing evenly. In the next pen, the cubs stirred, pressing their noses to the wire. She twitched, then turned her head slightly. Her nostrils flared, catching their scent. For a moment, her heavy paw lifted and rested against the metal barrier. The cubs responded with soft cries. I felt something settle in my chest, a fragile sense of peace mixed with exhaustion. I whispered through the fence, "You're almost home. Just a little longer." Her eyes closed again, calm now. For the first time all day, I believed it too. A week later, the valley looked different. The bridge was gone, every rotten plank, every frayed rope removed. Only the anchor posts remained, cut clean and capped with warning signs. The trail had been rerouted around the gorge, and the sound of construction tools had faded into the distance. Nature was reclaiming what it had lost. We met early that morning at the rehabilitation center. The air smelled of pine and diesel. Megan checked the transport crates one last time. The bear had regained her strength, alert but calm, her eyes tracking every movement. The cubs huddled in the smaller cage beside her, restless and vocal, but healthy again. Their fur shone in the cold light, a reminder of how far they'd come. Cole tightened the straps on the truck bed. "We'll release them near Clearwater Ridge," he said. "No tourists, no cabins for miles." Megan nodded. "Plenty of food and water sources." "It's perfect." I climbed into the passenger seat, the hum of the engine breaking the quiet. The drive took 2 hours along winding dirt roads, higher and higher into the mountains. Fog clung to the pines, and the sun fought to break through. The farther we went, the less human it felt, just forest, rock, and wind. When we finally stopped, the road ended in a wide clearing surrounded by tall spruces. The air was cold and clean. Cole gave quick orders. The crew set up a perimeter, cleared the area of gear, and positioned the cages side by side. We all kept our distance, quiet, deliberate movements. No shouting, no sudden sounds. Megan looked at me. "You want to do the honors?" My hands trembled slightly as I gripped the latch on the cub's crate. The metal clicked, and the door swung open. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, cautiously, one cub stepped out, sniffing the ground. The second followed, staying close, their small bodies moving as one. They turned toward the larger cage, as if they already knew what waited inside. Cole unlocked the adult's crate from the back. "Ready," he said softly. The door opened, and the bear emerged slowly. No rush, no panic. She stood still, massive and silent, taking in the scents of moss and wind. Her eyes found the cubs, and something in her posture changed. Her head lifted, her shoulders relaxed. The cubs chirped faintly and ran to her. She bent down, pressing her muzzle against each of them, breathing them in. The three of them stood together for a long time, as if the forest itself was holding its breath. Nobody spoke. Even the wind seemed to pause. Then she turned toward the trees and began to walk, slow and steady. The cubs followed close, tripping over roots and branches, their small footprints marking the damp soil. We watched until they disappeared into the green shadows. Megan exhaled first. "They'll do fine," she said quietly. "She knows how to keep them safe." Cole began gathering the equipment. "Let's get out before the light fades. They deserve the quiet." But I lingered. I walked to the ridge above the gorge, the same place where it all began. The air was still, and the late sun painted the rocks gold. Below, the river roared faintly, carrying pieces of the old bridge downstream. I stood there for a long time, listening. Then, somewhere across the canyon, a deep, distant sound rolled through the air, a low, familiar growl that echoed off the stone. I looked up and caught a glimpse of movement between the cliffs. A large shape paused on the far ridge, framed by the setting sun. It was her. She stood there for a moment, head high, her cubs at her side. Even from that distance, I could tell she was looking in my direction. Then she turned, leading them back into the forest until they vanished into the dusk. I stayed until the light was gone, the wind cold on my face. Somewhere deep inside, I felt something shift, like a weight lifting. Maybe it was relief, or maybe gratitude. I wasn't sure, but I knew one thing for certain. Sometimes, saving one wild family can save a part of yourself too.